What's up, shit? Timmy's here. Well, it's that time of the year again where I'm, of course, talking about the best and worst list. Now, tomorrow I will be talking about my favorite films of the year, so keep your eye out for that one. But here is my official top 10 worst films of 2025. And boy, oh boy, there were some stinkers. Number 10 is a movie that you probably never even heard of, but I saw this one back in the years, back in August. After I actually had a double feature of this and Toxic Avenger. You can probably guess which one was better. But number 10 is a movie you can find on Tubi here. It's called Run. Run is one of the worst sci-fi movies I saw last year. If you guys don't know much about it, it's from the same director of You Got Served and a couple of those other stuff you'll see on Tubi, like that those adopted movies, which I actually think are actually so fun. But this one is just not so good. It's where like this woman who leaves her fiance Andre, played by Marcus Houston, at the altar, and her best friends convince her to go to a cabin in the woods on a much needed girls trip to get her minds off things. But of course, there was like aliens. There of course is an alien attack on the nation here. There's like a character who's supposed to be like a cosplaying of of the president, really, of Obama, really. It's just so bad, so terrible, horrible dialogue. The ending is horrible. The acting is just abysmal. It's just not a good one. And it's a shame too, because I've always liked Marcus Houston. I still remember him in the movie You Got Served. Remember he was also in Fat Albert and stuff. He's been doing a lot of Tubi stuff nowadays, but he seems to be like the Tubi king nowadays here. So, hey, gotta eat, I guess. Number 9 is Flight Risk. Oh boy, Flight Risk was directed by Mel Gibson, Mel Gibson nowadays is not gonna talk about, but he has directed some good stuff like Hacksaw Ridge, Passion of the Christ, obviously Braveheart. So I had some hope for this one. Holy cow, the dialogue in this was terrible. Mark Wahlberg's bald cap, terrible year for Mark Wahlberg, by the way. Between this, Play Dirty, uh, what you call it, the Family Plan 2, not some good stuff there. Of course, you do got like Topher Grace was in this, Michelle Dockery. The action wasn't so good. It's like one of those movies that's so bad it's good type things, but it wasn't even that. It's just a really terrible one. And of course, Mel Gibson's next film is a Passion of the Christ sequel. We'll see if that's going to be any better, but who knows? Number 8 is The Alto Knights. Of course, this is a gangster movie starring Robert De Niro Robert De Niro, as to New York's most notorious organized crime bosses who vie for control of the city's streets here. I had some really hopes for this one because it was from the same director of Bugsy, Wag the Dog, Rain Man, Barry Levinson. You have Robert De Niro back to his gangster roots. It's from the same writers of Goodfellas. I'm like, oh, this could be pretty cool. It could even be an Oscar contender. It was really more like Gotti and less like Goodfellas. You remember the Gotti movie that John Travolta starred in a couple years ago? It was more like on the heels of Gotti more than Goodfellas. It's just not so good. It was boring at times. Not like I did not. Robert De Niro playing two parts. Did he really need to play two parts? Like maybe Joe Pesci declined, which hey, I can see why Joe Pesci would decline if they offered it to the role. But yeah, this just wasn't so good. It's a shame too because De Niro is one of my favorite actors there, and it's such a shame when he does a stumble film. But it is what it is, I guess. Anyway, number seven is Fountain of Youth. Fountain of Youth, of course, is directed by Guy Ritchie, and to me, it is Guy Ritchie's worst film since Swept Away. Like that Operation Fortune wasn't so great to be honest, yeah, but even that actually has some redeeming qualities. This has no redeeming qualities. It was just like a ripoff of National Treasure, Indiana Jones here. You got some really good cast members too, like John Krasinski, Natalie Portman, Domino Gleason. You had some good cast members here, but it was just boring at times. Terrible dialogue. They do some really dumb stuff in this. It's just not a good one. Number 6 is the movie Him. Now, of course, Him is the horror movie produced by Jordan Peele, starring Marlon Wayans. Of course, about this, Cameron Cade, who receives a lifeline with his hero, who's the, Isaiah Weiss here. and he offers to train at his like at his isolated compound, and Isaiah's charisma begins to curdle into something more darker here. It's not scary; it's terrible. The best part about it is Marlon Wayne's performances. He was actually pretty decent. I mean, Tyreek Withers did his best. I think he's going to be more better in that new film, Reminders of Him, that's coming out, or Reminders of You, that's coming out. Uh, this March. That actually looks pretty decent, but yeah, this just wasn't so good. And Julie Fox, who I liked ever since Uncut Gems, even she wasn't up to say this one. Number five is The Electric State. Another movie I had some hopes for because I do like the Russo brothers. I like Millie Bobby Brown. I like Chris Pratt, but nothing about this was all that interesting. The visuals was terrible. The acting wasn't so great. It just wasn't a good one. And thank God we got the Russo brothers coming back to the MCU. So hopefully that will be better. Number four is In the Lost Lands. In the Lost Lands, of course, is a fantasy movie starring Dave Bautista and Mila Jovovich. This is also based on like a story by George R. R. Martin, where like a queen is sends like the powerful and fierce sorceress Great Ellis to the ghostly wilderness of the Lost Lands here, and the it's gonna be so funny if Paul Thomas Anderson gets an Oscar nomination for Best Director, and Paul W.S. Anderson gets a Razzie nomination for this. Both actors with the words Paul Anderson their names, but that would actually be hilarious. But anyway, yeah, In the Lost Lands just isn't so great. I mean, obviously you got Paul Thomas Anderson, not Thomas, Paul W.S. Anderson reuniting with his Resident Evil star and his wife, obviously. Dave Bautista, wasn't enough to say this. It's just boring at times. It was terrible, horrible dialogue. This is one of the worst fantasy films I've seen last year. All right, number three is going to Strangers Chapter 2. I mean, Strangers. I had some hopes for this one. I did trailers for Strangers Chapter 2 look decent, but holy cow, this was just as worse as the first. I mean, I did not expect them to actually make this thing as worse as the first film. It wasn't so good. Terrible CGI boy here. Manuel Pech, who really needs a new agent. Between this, Maintenance Required, Stranger Chapter 3, I mean, I do hope she gets a better acting gig because I've always quite liked Manuel Pech because of obviously Riverdale and stuff. But yeah, even she wasn't enough to say this one. It's just a really terrible film. Hopefully, maybe chapter 3 will be better, but I have high hopes for that. I don't have high hopes for that. Number two is Tron Ares. Now, I actually had some hopes for this one because I thought the previous did look pretty decent. The cinematography looks good. Now, I will give it some stuff like the music by Nine Inch Nails was pretty decent. But that's really about it. Visually, it was stunning, but it was just not so great. Terrible character developments here. Jared Leto wasn't all that good in this show. And you know what? I don't mind Jared Leto. I think he could be a pretty good actor. I mean, he's an Oscar-winning actor. Come on. But yeah, even Jared Leto wasn't enough to say this one. And it was just, yeah, it was a stinker. And the worst movie of the year is War of the Worlds. The recent Ice Cube movie, based on the H.G. Wells story. It is one of the most abomination films that came out this year. How the heck did this thing got made? Beyond me. The acting isn't great. I mean, it is so like I mentioned this before. It's funny how Ice Cube is in the show The Studio because he appeared on The Studio, and War of the Worlds looks like something that The Studio would make. It's just not so great. I mean, I don't mind those films that takes place on the webcams. I enjoyed Unfriended. Searching was pretty decent, but this just did not do anything for me. I mean, this thing was like shot in 2020 during the pandemic, and they just released it last year. I even think Ice Cube forgot he made this thing. And the acting. Come on, you literally got Roderick from Diary Wimpy Kid was in this. Ava Longoria. Clark Gregg. You have some really good people in this, but yeah, the effects, dialogue, and stuff in this was terrible. Obviously, you do got it really just felt like an Amazon like a promotion for Amazon. So yeah, it's just a stinker. Anyway, and to be honest, this is probably Ice Cube's worst film, in my opinion. Anyway, probably even worse than Triple X State of the Union. Anyway, that's pretty much it there. Here is my quick rundown. Number 10, Run. 9, Flight Risk. 8, The Alto Knights. 7, Fast and the Youth. 6, Him. 5, The Electric State. 4, In the Lost Lands. 3, Strangers Chapter 2. 2, Tron Ares. And number 1 is War of the Worlds. Now, I do got a couple of dishonorable mentions. Hurry Up Tomorrow with The Weeknd. I really had some hopes for that one, but because it was from the same director of It Comes at Night, I had some hopes for that one because of that alone. But that was terrible. Wolfman wasn't so good. Love Hurts. Captain America: Brave New World. Sneaks would definitely be in my dishonorable mention. I could have done the top 20 here, to be honest. Yeah. The Home with Pete Davidson. Big Bold Beautiful Journey. After the Hunt. Odessa wasn't so good. Ella McKay definitely could have been on that list. Maintenance Required, Keeper, Die My Love. I mean, yeah, they've actually had great films this year, but on the side there was also some stickers. But let me let you guys. What do you think are some of the worst films of 2025? Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Amy Signer.